Hello, everybody, and welcome to Anu Education Monthly Webinar. We are really excited to welcome Dr. Mirish Lieberman from Centropa. If you don't yet know about Centropa, by the end of tonight you will, and you're going to love it. I myself, Lowell and I were just talking about how besotted we are. And I want to draw attention that my colleague Sharon Hayat is here from the Anu Museum, and she is director of our My Family Story project, which is also a Roots project, which can be used in correlation with Centropa. And Sharon, at some point, you'll put the link in the chat. It's available in a whole bunch of different languages. It's 8 different lessons, and it's free, and it's available to anyone all over the world, middle school students. And now we have a grandparent section, and it's really, really exciting. We have Summer Camp Edition. So first of all, welcome, Mirish. I want to give everyone a chance to say hello and where they're from. So we'll just do your name and where you're from, if that's okay. Rachel Dratch, I'm currently sitting in Jerusalem. Lowell, where are you from?
Originally from New York, but currently in Givat Shmuel.
All right. Sharon, where are you from? I guess originally and now.
Right. So originally from Michigan and or Chicago, kind of both. I'm now sitting in Tel Aviv.
It's because it's a roots session, right? Sharon, where are you from?
Hi, I'm originally from New York. I've been in Israel about over 30 years. I'm now in Zichron Yaakov near Haifa.
Oh, sure. Cantor. Oh, I love that you're a cantor. That's so exciting. Gail, where are you from?
I have an important phone call coming in, but it's on the screen, Davenport, Iowa. So I'll be back in a minute.
Wonderful. Knives, where are you from?
Hello to everybody. I'm from Osijek, Croatia.
Wonderful. Welcome. Denise. Hi. Hello, Denise. Where are you from?
I'm in Sacramento, California, originally from the San Francisco Bay Area.
Amazing. And Honor, where are you from?
I am tuning in from Central Connecticut today.
So fun. And David, where are you from?
Hello, yeah, I'm tuning in from South Korea in Daejeon.
Wow. Are you serving in the armed forces by any chance?
No, I'm a civilian just working at a research university here and part of the Jewish community. I'm a lay leader at the Ozon Air Base nominally, but we usually gather at Humphreys actually.
Oh, wow. Well, it is an honor. Thank you for your service. Sharon just posted a link to our program, our Roots Project, that we recommend so many people use the fantastic, amazing resources at Centropa. I invite everyone to have a wonderful time. Without further ado, I'm really excited to invite Mirish to share. People, please use the chat and talk out loud. I want to just say I'm fangirling a little bit because Mirish is just a fantastic educator. And it's a pleasure to have her on with us today. So Mirish, without further ado.
Thank you. First, I will introduce myself a little bit personally. Then I would like to ask a few questions about your professional background, just to direct my presentation, because I want to do some practical stuff, but I need to know about your work as educators, what and where you teach. But first, I say just a couple of words about myself. So I'm now in a snowy, very cold Budapest, which is the capital of Hungary. And I'm the director of Centropa Hungary, and I'm the director of the Centropa Jewish Network. I will introduce these two networks. I've been raised until I was 14 in a typical Eastern European or Eastern Central European family without any knowledge of being Jewish. Of course, my name, you can say it quite Jewish, and it wasn't a secret for me that it's a Jewish name, but basically we had no connection to Judaism. And when the regime changed, or how we call it, the Iron Curtain fell and the perestroika in the Soviet Union started, then basically in Hungary, the Jewish life was, as we say, rebuilt, and that was the time of the Renaissance. I think it was quite similar in Croatia and in many countries in the formal, as we call it, Soviet bloc. Why I wanted to share this information with you, because this is where my passion for Jewish tradition, Jewish family history is coming, that we were the first generation rediscovering our roots. And basically, me as a teacher, I was trained as Russian and history of art teacher, so nothing to do with Judaism, but I was very much involved in this Jewish Renaissance. I was very much involved in informal or non-formal education. I was trained in Kiryat Moriah back in the 90s in Jerusalem as a madricha for Habonim Dror, and also a very famous Jewish camp here in Hungary, the Lauder/GDC Jewish camp, which was an international Jewish camp. And I'm very proud to say that many of the Jewish leaders from our region came from this background. So I also have a very interesting family history, which was told despite Judaism wasn't in the center of my life. So for me, coming to Centropa was like finding this place where we tell family stories, which we also told in my family, who traveled where, who moved where. I'm also from a bilingual family. Both of my parents were born in the formal Soviet Union, and they moved to Hungary. They were Hungarians and Russians and Jewish, and all these traditions were living in our family. So this is my background, and this is my passion for this kind of family storytelling. And that's why coming to Centropa was a bit like coming home. I hope it won't jump too much. Do you see my screen clearly? Okay, so this is a little presentation I made basically as an intro. I won't read all the slides, just want to give you a brief intro into Centropa. But before, I would like to ask you, dear participants, how many of you have ever heard about Centropa? Just raise your hands or do some move. Good. Okay. This means that I still need to present a bit about the background of this organization. So in my intro text, I said that what I'm going to do in this presentation is that I will show you how do we teach 20th century Jewish history in a way that it truly resonates with students, and that the history behind each country, each Jewish family is based on a human experience. So basically, if I want to single out one thing, what we focus on is that our unique methodology is basically built on a simple but powerful idea that students connect more deeply with history when they encounter it through personal stories and photographs. And this is true for Jewish and non-Jewish students, whether it's their direct family story or this is the history of the country and the people they live together with. So what is Centropa? Centropa was established as a historical and educational institute that aims to preserve 20th century Jewish history. I'm very sorry for, and through family stories and photographs. It was established by a photographer and a photo reporter, Ed Sirota, who led this organization until last year when he stepped down, but he continued his legacy through this amazing archive we are talking about, and the 3 offices we have in Budapest, Hamburg, and Washington. So I'm in Budapest, and we are all independent entities. What brings us together is the Oral History Archive, which contains around 25,000 digitalized photos and 1,200 interviews. These interviews were made between 2000 and 2008 in Eastern Central Europe and the Balkans. So we are talking about the Baltic states, Slovakia, Czechia, Poland, Hungary, Croatia, Serbia, and down to Greece and and Turkey. The Centropa archive is freely accessible. I will show you the archive. Just don't want to jump between the different slides. And it was acquired by the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington as a special collection. They own the archive, they own the original recordings, but we as Centropa are exclusively running educational programs with the use of this archive. What is this archive about, and what are these stories about? There was an interviewee of Centropa, actually she was from Croatia, who said when Centropa approached her for an interview, she said that there were many people coming to my home and asking me to talk about my life. You're the first group of people who are asking us, she used the plural, how we lived and not how we died. So this is what distinguished the Centropa archive from many oral history archives, that it focuses on an entire life story and family story of a person who was interviewed, and not just the Holocaust. I'm sure you know many Holocaust interviews. They are very important, but they basically focus on the story of the Holocaust. Centropa wanted to go behind and collect the stories, how Jews lived in this region before, during, and after the war. Of course, our materials are widely used in Holocaust education because these stories contain a lot about Holocaust. But it also shows how people overcome that period, how they restarted their life. And I think this is also very important when we talk about new approaches in Holocaust education, that it should also talk about how life restarted after. And what is also important, since I'm talking about Holocaust education at this point, that Centropa focuses on these life stories which go behind the numbers and horrors and dates. And we know that in Holocaust education, there is a certain fatigue, also in Jewish education, not just in non-Jewish schools. And I believe because there is a lot of impact, it was very much focused on the horrors and numbers, and very little was told about human lives. And human lives bring these stories closer to the students, and I think they can be more understandable through those stories and not the numbers and the horrors. So basically our second phase after collecting the stories was turning toward education. How did it happen? When the archive was completed and went online under centropa.org, first clicks in 2008 and 2009 came, surprisingly or not, from teachers. And they were approaching Centropa, Ed Serota, the founder, with request to use the interviews? And the answer was ultimately yes. But then the idea came that if we want not just preserve these stories, but disseminate them through to what? The best way to disseminate them through education. And basically, this is when we started our educational work, which focuses mostly on classroom teachers. We are creating a snowball effect by reaching an ever-growing network. So educators tell each other about Centropa. For that, we organize international and local teacher training seminars, summer academies, and of course, we started to turn these stories into secondary resources, multimedia films in 20 languages, traveling exhibitions in each country. We have source books, we have thematic websites, and we have beautiful podcasts. We have 13 podcast series in English using these personal stories. And of course, while we engage with educators, we're combining storytelling with new technologies in classroom and also in this simulation process. I will talk just a little bit about my role in Hungary, because I think it's important that in Hungary, as well as my colleagues in Hamburg and Washington, we also focus on non-Jewish audience. We go to Hungarian schools. We target directly students with traveling exhibitions, with peer guide trainings, with workshops, with walking tours. And also, since we still have the opportunity to invite, unfortunately, a smaller number than years before, and this number is going to be smaller and smaller, but we still keep in touch with our interviewees, the Holocaust survivors, who can still tell their story to teachers and educators. What I'm going to talk a little bit more about is the Centropa Jewish Network, which is a network for Jewish schools in Europe and a growing number of schools in Israel. There are many networks, emerging networks. I know that ANU is also building its network of educators. The National Library of Israel is building its network of education. There is the United and many others. They all do very important work. What I see now, that the only peer-to-peer network that brings together educators from across different subject areas is Centropa. And this is something I would like to highlight, that when we're talking about Jewish education, I know that the focus is on Jewish studies and Hebrew, but what Centropa thinks is important to also engage with teachers of languages, ethics, and history. These teachers are not necessarily coming from Jewish background in Europe, because there are not obviously enough teachers with this background. And for them, it's not necessarily coming to, you know, this idea coming that using some kind of Jewish stories in their educational process is important. And maybe they don't have enough means for that. So when we started the Centropa Jewish Network, there were many educators who were teachers of languages, who were coming and using our materials in language classes, Of course, history teachers were always very much interested in our materials. And now when we organize teacher training seminars, teachers are usually coming from both fields, Jewish studies and non-Jewish studies. So as of now, we have around 20 European countries where we actively working with Jewish schools. These are mostly Central and Eastern European countries, but we have schools in Finland and Amsterdam, which are very active. France is a different planet, as you know. They have their own word, and of course, the language barriers are not easy to work with. And Britain is also a place where they have many of their own engagements. But still, we have around 3,080 or 90 or almost 400 teachers who have taken part in our program since 2011, which is, I think, a good number. Of course, not all of them are active all the time. Some people are coming and going. But since 2011, we had 14 professional development seminars. We have one CGN seminar each year in a specific place where we explore the Jewish community and history of that place, and the teachers can be engaged through our Centropa materials with the story of that particular place. We also organize summer academies. This is what we were talking about at the beginning with Lowell, that his first engagement with Centropa was a summer academy where we bring together teachers from different countries, different background, Jewish schools, non-Jewish schools. We had 62 CGN teachers participating in summer academies. And as I said, we have a growing number of Israeli schools that are joining our network. So what our main fields within the Centropa Jewish Network is that we provide content knowledge, we share Centropa materials with these teachers, professional development seminars. We also help build partnerships through cross-border projects. We have a student competition for students. And of course, as I said, we support teachers in creative, inventive ways to implement our educational content. And what is this all for? It's all for strengthening, of course, the Jewish identity of the students in these schools, to provide them with opportunity to meet peers from different countries and feel themselves as part of a broader Jewish brother and sisterhood. And before I continue with some practical materials, I want to share my screen and show you the archive. So Centropa archive can be found until centropa.org. It has 3 main languages, English, German, and Hungarian. Under the archive, you can find the stories itself. So you see 1,200 stories from 14 European countries and 25,000 documents. These were scanned, they stayed with the owners, we didn't take them. And the way you can search through an archive is basically by name, by city, by year of birth, but also what I want to show you, this very nice feature is that whenever you're interested in a particular place, and this can be interesting for your students and for the Family Roots project. So if a student knows where their family is coming from, this is the way of looking through the map and finding materials through this map. here you see this display doesn't, wait. Sometimes it has, of course, some glitches. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know why it's not displaying now the content. I tried it out, but you will have to believe me that in times of other times that this map works. For educational content, you can find student projects, thematic websites here listed under the educational content. This is the films site into which I will go a little bit into. And as I already mentioned, we have 13 sessions of podcasts, which are thematic seasons. This is the last one, which was created last year for the anniversary of the end of the war. But for example, just as an example, this is 4 stories of survival in Terezin, the Terezin concentration camp. And as you see, you can listen to these podcasts directly on the website, but you can also search for them. And I hope this is not an advertisement, but for in other platforms like Apple and Spotify. Each of these podcasts contains a story read out by a famous or less famous, but really good actress or actor in a good language. So I suggest you to listen to this podcast and try them out. And of course, under events, we usually advertise our teacher training seminars and summer academies. So this is something we suggest you to follow if you are interested in our work. And this is the separate website for the Centropa Jewish Network, where you can find a list of our partnering schools in Europe, some information about our seminars, the past seminars, and this is the student competition section, which shows the result of the last year's competitions, just to show you that we have a virtual cookbook, very sweet videos from kids cooking some Jewish food in their like traditional recipes from their families, sometimes with their grandmas, sometimes Turkish students from the Turkish Jewish school make some rice dish with their grandma, and the grandma comments in Ladino, which is really amazing to see now. And in my family history category, you see that we have films which inspired also by Centropa personal stories. We don't have time to play these videos, but I really suggest you this one, which is under family history category. It's called Check It Out, From Mariska to Me. This is a winner of the last year competition. It came from a US school, Jewish school, and the girl who made this video, she basically rediscovered the family roots of her grandma from the Czech or Czechoslovakia, and this film is like really something we do with Centropa. What I wanted to share with you today is a bit more practical approach to how we work with Centropa.
Mirish, while you're pulling it up, I just want to remind everybody that I believe it's January 27th is the International Holocaust Memorial Day. And so I'm particularly happy that you're showing us, because celebrating the lives, not just how they died, that line really stays with me. It's just a great resource to have in advance of that day.
Yeah, so then I jump in with what we just doing now, just to connect to what Rachel said. So Yes, the 27th is coming up, and we are preparing this social media content for our teachers. It's going to be posted already tomorrow, so there is time until the 27th. And what we do, that we will basically suggest 3 lesson plans from our website for the teachers to use as materials for remembering the 27th of January. And they are connected somehow to stories in which persons went through Auschwitz, but it's also about them restarting life after war. So that's yes, a particular connection to that. So what I would like to show you here, and I'm going to put it on a vote, so you can decide. I prepared 3 stories. And I want you to name which one you want me to go in deeper, but I'm going to introduce them. This story is a story of a woman from upper northern Slovakia, or southern northern Slovakia, which used to be Hungary. It's difficult, I know. First World War, territories were taken. So this is a very typical bourgeois family. And még egy 7-ig leszek, mindjárt végzek 7-kor. I'm very sorry. This is the security. The story based on a testimony from Leflerova. We also have a very nice film about her, and this story focuses basically on how people lived before the war in this Slovak city or Hungarian city, Pozsony, Bratislava. That's the first material. The second story is the story of Rosa Rosenstein, who lived through history. She lived in Berlin, then she lived in Hungary, and then she moved to Vienna. Her children survived in Israel. So it's a story about 4 countries. And the last story is a story of Ernst Gelpert, or Galpert Ernő, from the Carpathians, from Munkachevo. This story is a story of an Orthodox family, and the film called Growing Up Religious. So we can do a bit of a vote, and please write into the chat which film you are interested in. I'm going to repeat. So Leflerova is a story from Bratislava or Pozsony. Munkács, I see, yes, Munkács, the story of an Orthodox family, and a really fascinating story from Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Israel. It's the Rosa Rosenstein. So Leflerova, Rosenstein, and 4 countries. Okay, Munkács. No one from Slovakia? First, Rosenstein. Yeah, go ahead, Lowell. First, you have to unmute yourself.
I think you can choose, Miris. They're all really good.
Should I choose?
Yeah,
Okay, then I'm going to show you a bit of the Rosenstein story. And then, because Munkács had many of votes as well, I will just talk a little bit about that film. So first, let's see the film. It's really short. I hope I can follow the suggestions of of Rachel how to show something with wait, I go back a little bit and refresh my screen. Okay.
While you're doing that, I'm going to give a shout out to one of my colleagues, Rivka Aderet, who's on here. She does these amazing documentary films, a series at ANU, and she had a series about Munkach. So I was very excited. But if you're ever in Israel and you want to see great film, come to us. Rivka will take care of you.
That I can play now with sound.
Great.
Ich wurde 1907 in Berlin geboren. Wir waren eine große Familie. Ich hatte 4 Geschwister: Betty, Erna, Zilli und Arthur. Und wir blieben alle unser Leben lang sehr eng miteinander verbunden. Hier sind wir in Bad Bukow. Wir sind oft Tretboot gefahren und gerudert. Im Sommer war Bad Bukow Jahr für Jahr der Lieblingsplatz der ganzen Familie. Inmitten einer Gruppe jüdischer Freunde sind meine Schwester Betty, mein Verlobter Maximilian Weiß und ich. Michi, so haben wir Maximilian genannt, war von Beruf Schneider und kam aus Ungarn. Kennengelernt haben wir uns so. Ich habe in einem Fabriksgebäude mit großen Fenstern gearbeitet und gegenüber war eine Herrenkonfektion. Da saß an der Nähmaschine immer ein gut aussehender junger Mann. Wir haben ständig hin und her gelächelt. Eines Tages kam dann ein Bote mit einer großen Kiste bis oben gefüllt mit Konfekt und sagte, der junge Mann von drüben schickt Ihnen das. So fing alles an. Ja, und dann haben wir 1929 in Berlin geheiratet. Ende der 20er Jahre war Berlin eine Stadt mit Stil. Und hier sind wir auf einer Purim-Feier und wie man sieht, waren meine Freunde und ich, wie man heute sagen würde, voll im Trend. Genau in dieser Zeit gründeten Michi und ich unsere Familie. Bessie wurde 1929 geboren und Lili 1933. Beide gingen in einen jüdischen Kindergarten und danach in die jüdische Volksschule. Die Direktorin war schon meine Lehrerin gewesen. Ich brachte in der Früh Bessie und Lili in den Kindergarten und arbeitete dann zusammen mit meinem Mann in unserer gemeinsamen Schneiderei. Meine Eltern wohnten nur 10 Minuten von uns entfernt. Zu dieser Zeit war alles wunderbar. Doch die Zeiten änderten sich. Deutschland wurde für uns Juden sehr gefährlich. Und so flüchteten wir im September 1939 nach Budapest. Mein Mann hat gesagt, bei uns in Ungarn kann uns nichts passieren. Das war 3 Wochen nach Kriegsbeginn. Meine Familie war bereits nach Palästina geflüchtet und mein Schwager schrieb, schick die Kinder, schick bitte die Kinder. Wir werden sie so erziehen, als wenn es unsere eigenen wären. Und das haben wir dann auch gemacht. Mein Mann und ich wurden in Budapest verhaftet und interniert. Michi starb 1943 in einem Arbeitslager in der Ukraine. Ich überlebte den Krieg in Budapest. 2 Jahre nachdem ich Michi verloren hatte, heiratete ich Alfred Rosenstein. Zusammen hatten wir einen Sohn, Georg. Georg wurde 1945 geboren und 2 Jahre später sind wir nach Wien in die Heimatstadt meines Mannes gezogen. Sobald es mir möglich war, reiste ich gemeinsam mit Georg zu meinen Töchtern Bessie und Lili nach Israel. Hier bin ich mit Georg und seinen Cousinen in Tel Aviv. Meine Mutter, Bessie und Lili wollten in Israel bleiben. Georg wuchs in Wien auf. Nach der Matura studierte er in Israel Psychologie und nahm den Namen Zvi Bar David an. Er heiratete und bekam 2 Töchter und einen Sohn. Somit lebte meine ganze Familie in Israel. Ich besuchte sie regelmäßig. Hier bin ich mit meinen Enkeltöchtern, richtigen Sabras.
Von Berlin nach Budapest, von Tel Aviv nach Wien. Rosa Rosenstein hat Geschichte nicht nur erlebt, sondern gelebt. Von der Kaiserzeit bis zur Weimarer Republik. Vom Aufstieg der Nazis bis zum Überleben im belagerten Budapest. Ein neues Leben, beginnend neben dem Erwachsenwerden ihrer Töchter in Israel. Anlässlich ihres 90. Geburtstags. Rosa Rosensteins Familie kam aus der ganzen Welt angereist, um sie zu feiern. Und man feierte sie jährlich bis zum Jahr 2005, in dem sie im Alter von 98 Jahren verstarb.
Thank you. I would like to invite you for a little bit of discussion. Just if you can drop in some ideas in what kind of subjects or classes do you think this film can be used? If you teach a particular subject, or if you can think history, of course, yes, it talks a lot about history of how war started in Germany. It has this very interesting particular aspect of the Holocaust in Hungary, which geography, writing, great ideas, yes. Jewish tradition, yes, how they lived before the war. Then also a little bit of the history of Israel, of course, how these people were accepted to Israel, how they continued their life in Israel. If you also open the biography itself, there is a lot of information about where the kids were, how they arrived to Israel. Holocaust Memorial and Remembrance Day. Yes, exactly. So what I would like to show you now is an example of a lesson plan which was made by a Hungarian teacher with her colleagues. And for that, we're going to jump to a website, which I also very much recommend to you to get familiar with, is a website called Her Stories. We had this project working on women's stories. It was a project which was co-funded by the European Union. We did it in consortium with many organizations, and after 2 years, we basically finished the project. But we have this amazing website created with materials of 7 Jewish women from Europe, and 5 stories are from the Centropa archive. So you can find these stories on the Centropa archive, but here as well. And the story of Rosa Rosenstein is the German story, which appears on this website. But what I would like to show you is here under resources, we have some methodology background on women history, a nice historical background, but also student exercises uploaded. And here, one of the exercises was created by a Hungarian teacher on this story. And this is why I wanted to ask you about the subjects which could use this film or the story of Rosa Rosenstein, and you pointed out very lightly that it's geography and language and many of disciplines. So I would like to talk a little bit about this this lesson plan, because it shows very well how a Centropa material, and particularly this story, can be used. So this is a lesson plan created for 1 or 2 classroom hours with the high school age, and it can be a lesson for a whole class working in smaller groups. So there is a warm-up exercise, which is a frontal work. It's about a map and on which the students can basically point some of places that matter most to them. So this is the warm-up of talking about home and places which are important for the students. And then a group work of 25 minutes working on the story. I'm not going to open, I will just highlight some of the digital tools which are recommended in this lesson plan. And this is something we always encourage our teachers to include all these tools they use, and this way recommend it to other teachers. Here is a so-called story map tool is used, on which the kids can find all the locations in Rosa Rosenstein's life story. This is the first group's exercise. The second group, or as you see, the teacher mentioned that depending on the class side, this exercise can be given to more than one groups. The second group would do a very exciting exercise, creating a social media profile. Here they wrote Facebook, but of course it can be Instagram or anything else. So basically the kids create a post on behalf of Rosa Rosenstein about events that marked and shaped her life. For that, also there is a tool how to create a fake or Facebook post, but I know that there are tools for that, for creating Instagram and other posts. And the third group would imagine a family gathering, like in the film at the end, for which they have to create a newspaper documenting Rosa Rosenstein's life in the twilight of history. So these are 3 exercises, basically creative exercises based on the life story. And the conclusion after the presentation of these creative works is just writing down some feelings that were triggered by this story. And for that, we also have a suggestion for using a tool. When we talk about the Rosa Rosenstein story, we can also point out many other aspects. And our teachers worked a lot on the idea of home, belonging, and also the difficult decisions Rosa Rosenstein had to make during this long life, leaving countries, moving to other countries, saving her children, and so on. So, but also we experienced teachers using the film basically in a Jewish school purely for language learning, because if you think about this film, it uses very simple text, which is really understandable. The subtitles are quite easy to read, and I'm sure that you know that today's young generations reading skills are not as strong as they used to be, but it still provides some opportunity for them to delve into these materials. And last but not least, here you can find, of course, the whole biography of Rosa Rosenstein on the Zentropa website. And this is an example of a Zentropa biography with this beautiful amount of photos back from the 30s, 60s, 40s from different countries and states.
Sorry, I don't think we're seeing the screen that you want us to
Don't
see.
the screen? I'm sorry. I reshare it.
Thank you.
Disappeared. Yes. Thanks for the notes. So this is the screen, and this is the biography on Rosa Rosenstein on our website. And these are the photos which accompany the story. And also, as you see, that basically this film was created using these photos and photos from different archives and internet. And this is something what we also encourage teachers. We had this kind of video competitions for students and teachers creating this kind of family history films using photos and documents both from the website and from the Zentropa archive. I will stop here, and I think, Rachel, I will send a document with all the links which you can share with all the participants, if you agree with that.
Of course.
Because I think that could be useful, because I know that it's a lot of information and we just
I'll
don't
send
have
it with
time to
copy of
click on everything. But the best way to discover Zentropa archive and films is by clicking and searching for the different materials. And I stop here, and if you have any questions or follow-ups, then please.
I see there's a question, does the birth date search according to the secular calendar or the Hebrew calendar? And I'm recommending
the birthday search is according to the secular calendar.
I highly recommend just going on their website and playing. It's just a treasure. And there's voice recordings and there's pictures, and it's just so fun.
Yeah, so the original, the voice recordings, so yes, these were voice recordings which were transcribed into stories. What is important that we didn't change anything what people said. It was each of the interview, when it was transcribed, then it was edited to have the same form all over the archive, so that all stories start with the family background, then the personal life before, during, and after the war. But whatever was said is very literally there in the archive. If there was a historical mistake or there were discrepancies between different family members, because sometimes we made a note. This is really important. And also, this is, I want to highlight, when working with personal stories, there always needs to be this kind of critical approach of checking the historical facts. When we talk about personal oral history, it's important, but teaching history should be also very much fact-based. So always check the facts, because people make mistakes. This is the history teacher talking. Yes, the original recordings are kept at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. We also have a copy. There is a way of requesting them for research purposes. So if someone is particularly interested in the original voice recording, it can be requested. Please bear in mind that these were cassettes back at the beginning of 2000. So the quality is, old people talking somewhere far, but it's still a very valuable, of course, material.
I need to say, Mirosh, this is such a treasure. We're so grateful for this hour we've had to spend with you and to learn about the beautiful work that you do, which is so inspiring and engaging and interesting and inspiring. We're so glad. Thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for your presentation. Thank you all for coming. Please write to Mirosh, check out the website. I'll send the recording along with the links, and I want to also encourage everyone to check out the ANU Museum website with My Family Story, which is also about research and fun and ways to engage with your family story. And most of all, I wish us to share news of peace and calm and peaceful and free world. So thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you for listening, and thank you for all your work you're doing, because education is, I think, more important than ever. I know it's always important, but nowadays it's all about the education.
Absolutely. I salute you all.